You guys are gonna laugh. Abir and Sada. Serene hit the live button earlier, and I was live for like 10 seconds, and I'm yelling at her, like, "No, it's good." I had to delete it though. I had to delete it. It was hilarious.
Do not yell at.
There you go. Well, we're live. For those that are watching, I just want to let you know, you gotta give me about 5 minutes to share the stream to everyone. So we're just gonna be here. Of course, those that are on the panel right now, you guys are more than welcome to have a conversation. But we are not gonna officially start the conversation that we have planned for you until we get all these links situated.
Inshallah.
I'll get my camera fixed.
So Sarah, what are you up to? What's new? Where are you at now?
I graduated. I got my bachelor's.
Okay.
I got in sociology from Wayne State. So I am now a caseworker for domestic violence survivors with Access.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Some heavy stuff.
Really, yeah, but you like get a thicker skin, and I always tell like everybody, like, I feel like I'm not working. I feel like I'm just doing charity work and helping out the community every single day. Doesn't feel like a job, Yeah. It feels like I'm just like doing my thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Sister Abir? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I think we probably crossed path, but we don't remember. I don't quite remember. Maybe
you didn't go to Bridge.
Yeah. So I went to Frontier. Yeah, I went to Frontier, but I was the first graduating class. I graduated 2008, and I honestly don't remember seeing you in our school. I remember Mr. Ahmed.
Yeah. Those are fun days, man. Like, those are my best memories, like,
this
ever.
Is so ironic.
Yeah, it is. But it was amazing. I had blast. I
had a blast. Me too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like even though I was like a 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, or 6th, like in middle school, we were very mature for our ages. Like, we were actually like friends, and we respected you guys, and we looked up to you guys as well. Yeah. So it's just like,
it was nice. It was comfortable. It was like, it felt like home, right? Because the teachers were Muslims, and I think at that time, like, having to be able to be in that environment and just, I think like community was much maturing, and we're all coming collectively together. It was really nice. Yeah, it was fun.
I always tell Sada all the time, like, you're so lucky that you got to have teachers that looked like you, that were missing, that understood where you came from. It was not until when she was in 3rd grade, I met Miss Fadak and Miss Mohammed, and I'm like, we clicked. And then our assistant principal at the time was Miss Wafa Saleh. And that was like the biggest thing in the world. Like, first senior year, I was like, oh my God, Yeah. So it's a blessing, and kind of the reason why I went into teaching, because I'm like, I want to be the person that I needed, So.
Yeah, after working at Bridge and Front, I was like, I'm good. I don't want to teach. That's not my thing.
Mr. Abdullah.
Yeah.
He was playing in the game, and I didn't even recognize him. I was like, wait, I know that guy.
Mr. Abdullah, who's that one?
Mr. Abdullah? Huh?
Who is it?
Khalid Abdullah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Miss Frak's cousin, but he was the other third. He was Karim's teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm watching him play, which he probably played like 5 minutes for the whole game. And I'm like, yo, I know this guy. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's Mr. Abdullah. He looks so old. I was like, whoa, time has really passed. Yeah, I didn't get to say hi to him though, because he left quick, but I was just like, wow, subhanallah.
Yeah, those are fun, mashallah.
Yeah. So wait, did you say that you're in Michigan right now or no?
Yeah, I just moved back. I moved back about 1.5 years ago. Yeah. Well, almost 2 years in August, inshallah. Yeah.
I'm almost there, everybody. I'm like about 1 minute away. I am posting it right now on Instagram story. And then I think I did Facebook already, if I'm correct. I got tagged you as well, Mohammed, if you wanted, you could see it, by the way. And then just put this here. There we go. Facebook and Instagram. We're good to go, I believe. Facebook already. All right, here we go. So we are officially live. How's everybody doing today? Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Ramadan Kareem. To everybody that is sitting here watching. Ahmed Hussein says, hey, salam. How are you all doing? How are you, Ahmed? I hope you're doing well. As you guys can see, we are on a Zoom call today. We are live. Of course, the Table Talk crew. You got me, Umar Thabit, in the building. Below me in this camera angle, you got my little sister, Sada Thabit. Next to her, you got the other co-host, Abid Thabit. And then above Abid, sitting there is Mohammed Kibriya. We are live with Mohammed Kibriya, who is a life coach / mentor. And I cannot wait to have this conversation with you all because we are going to have some fun. First of all, we're going to get to know Mohammed, get to know all the work that he does, telling us about what is it like to be a life coach and a mentor. If you guys see my little daughter popping in, she's right here. Yeah, she's here. She's trying to be seen, but I'm gonna block her away. But we are live, and what discussion today is we're gonna just talk about different topics, man. Like Mohammed loves to post different things on social media. He does different posts, and I sit there and I laugh because it's great conversation starters. And sometimes he gets a bunch of people chiming in, and then like I sit there and I'm like, wow, this is an amazing conversation. I just don't want to get started in the conversation because then we're not going to stop. And the next thing you know, I'm attached to my phone and I'm not spending time with my family, my daughters, that is. So, but with that said, we are going to break them down today. We're going to get into it today. I'm looking forward to that. And if you are watching, feel free to chime in whenever we start the conversations. It's going to be a agree and disagree segments. But before I do that, I got to give a shout out to my two sponsors of today, which is Leo's Coney Island and BC Adhesives. I am going to start with Leo's Coney Island. Sorry, I'm talking about some food right quick. I know it's Ramadan for some of you that are fasting. Everybody here pretty much. But Leo's Coney Island is located on 10 South Main Street, Royal Oak, Michigan. Their number is 1248-336-8093. They have delicious American style food, known for their conies, fried chicken gyro, breakfast, chili, and even more. Leo's Coney Islands have been around for a very long time. But the best Leo's of them all is the one in Royal Oak. Shout out to Umar al-Halimi. Shout out to everybody over there at Leo's Coney Island in Royal Oak. Looking forward to going over there, inshallah, after Ramadan and eating some delicious food. With that said, first of all, sisters, y'all all good? Everybody's good at home. Everybody's at home. Usually we're in the studio together. Just want to make sure y'all are all right. You know, got to look out for the sisters, right? Mohammed, you know, got to make sure they're good.
Absolutely.
But with that said, Mohammed, can you introduce yourself? Can you tell the people who are watching who you are, what you do, and things like that?
Jazakallah khair, man. Thank you so much for doing this. May Allah accept from all of us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, Mr. Mohammed Kibriya. I'm originally, I grew up in Hamtramck. I graduated 02 from Ham High. Left the state for a while since 2010. And I was in Virginia. And I just came back. Like, you know, Michigan is home to me, alhamdulillah. So yeah, I'm 38. I got a master's I got my master's in nonprofit management from Northeastern. I was always involved in the community, and I just wanted to get involved. I just wanted to kind of like make that as like my full-time gig, right? And like, I mean, and so I started doing a lot of youth work in the community around here in Iona and Warren. And when I left, I joined the corporate world, man, my heart was just dying eventually, right? And I don't want to just be in the corporate setting. And then I decided to jump into this nonprofit opportunity as a youth director, full-time youth director in Darul Islamic Center in Virginia. Alhamdulillah, like since then, I never went back to the corporate world from 2014. And I invest my time and energy into community work, and I love doing community work. And that's where I kind of like picked up like kind of like skill set of like helping young people, connecting with them, and just being able to like understand how I can add value to their lives through like a prophetic tradition, right? Through our faith and journey. I think we all go through struggles and trials and tribulations. And I was able to pick up some skill set and kind of like really want to see like what is my purpose? Because, you know, like that's a big question a lot of us ask. So kind of figure that out. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to add value to other people through, you know, the lens of our traditions and our faith and our spirituality, you know. And yeah.
Definitely, man. Alhamdulillah, man. Very, very, very good work that you do for sure. And my question to you, said you are now in Michigan. Where do you work at now specifically, and who do you work with?
So I work for Muslim American Society. I'm their national youth director. So one of my responsibilities is to actually empower masjids, institutions to like embody youth work professionally, like kind of like how Christian community has ministry work. So our project called Mass Youth Ministry, and we're like the first ever youth institution that really goes into masjids that is being built all over our communities, right? And they're empty half of the time. We go in and put life into it. So that, what does that mean? We go in there and try to like create programs like you did. Like I think you did an amazing job with the basketball league, and I thought it was like, that's awesome. Like you raised funds, you connected people, you brought community together. That's like that's like a prophetic work, right? That's the type of work we feel like we try to influence people like you to continue your influence in the community in a prophetic tradition, right? So that's what we do at a national. And I have about like 3 staff members, and we're like, you know, our goal is to go and train, empower, give contents, and, you know, help organizers like you to take your, you know, phase of your project to next 2.0, 3.0, whatever that is required from an infrastructure level, professional development training, social media strategy, marketing, branding, all of that, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, by the way. I mean, Abir, Sada, any comments so far? Anything that you want to say right quick? You guys are more than welcome to unmute yourselves and say what y'all got to say.
Is your focus only in the masjid, or is it any type of community building?
It's been a while. I haven't heard the word masjid, right? I miss it. It's like, what? You mean masjid? Okay. It's like the Yemeni accent. So not really, like, so it's not that, you know, like, for example, there's a lot of massages that is requiring youth work, because, like, you know, you have leadership that promise, oh, we're going to do this for youth, we're going to do that for youth, and it's just like there's no follow-ups because there isn't much work into this area that we built. So we work with anybody. So we can work with masajids, third spaces, you know, nonprofit organization that really needs help. So we work with anybody. We're open to that, right? It's not specifically masjids, but our main area of work with it is like, I would say 70 to 80% within the masjid, because that's when we're able to actually effectively work in a community, right? Because eventually, if you look at masjids, the way it's supposed to be designed is like a community center. Sure. But what happens, masjids becomes just like salah area and nothing else. Like it's completely empty, right? So I think we need to really think about what masjid means to all of us, you know, differently.
100%. People don't realize that the imam is kind of responsible for the community, not just to, you know, read prayer. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's a definitely lack of contextualized imams in our community. Like you're not going to find somebody who really understands the paradigm that they're living. Obviously, like sometimes they're just told to stay quiet, lead the salah and go home, right? Or to give khutbah and that's it. But there's not a moment you're going to walk into but you can walk into Prophet's gathering, like Prophet ﷺ, right? You can sit in his gathering. You can ask any question you want. Like you can go up to him, and that's the type of community he built. And he was able to also, you know, mentor people, guide them, not just guide them spiritually, but he also guided them in their like their strength and skills. So he knew how to read people well. So he was like the, you know, our master, our mentor. Like he's the mentor, right? Who mentored people and knew their skill set to be able to utilize them. So I think we need to. Yeah, I mean, even today, he's in, like, I am here because of, you know, I'm not walking his footsteps, right? Reality, we're all walking his footsteps. So I think we need to really think about imam's position in our community differently, and we need to slowly like strategize on that and plan.
Yeah, I love that. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, me too. I really do. I'm telling y'all, man, I can't wait till we get into the agree and disagree segments, because some of the topics that he brings up is very good. And man, you just had another good one today, man. I was like, man, I don't know if I can include this one in there, but we'll see. We'll see how the time goes by. So what is it like to be a mentor? I know you kind of touch on it, but, you know, what is it like to be a mentor / life coach? Do you enjoy it? Like, you know, how is everything going with that?
You know, it's like when you find like I think Sarah mentioned earlier, she doesn't feel like working, right? She enjoys it. She does what she loves, and her time goes. Like once I was able to like find that purpose and meaningful intentionality, like you know, when I see young people struggle, like, you know, I came from a rough background too. Like, I mean, I was in a nightclub. I had my times of Sharaf Jahiliya, right? And when I really came back, when I really found my spiritual journey, like, of course, I took this extreme route. Like, I went to this extreme sense, man. I even had like feds knock on my door. That's how bad it was, right? This is public now, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, then I went to other extremes. So like finding that balance was really crucial. And I had good mentors, the murabbis. So when we say, Rabbil Alameen, right? Rabb, the word Rabb, its connotations and the same word as like Murabbi, right? Rubub, like, somebody who's who take care of you. Like he's a mentor who sees you from immaturity to maturity. Like there's a growth process because, in our whole life we grow. So once I'm able to like give back to others, but of course I also have mentors. Like I also go checking with my mentors and my murabbis. I need life coaches to coach me so I can go and give back. This is how our tradition is, right? Like we need to sit down with our ammos, despite how, sometimes how annoying they can be and their thought process, but they have so much wisdom and knowledge that we need to really take from them. And I'm sure you guys feel that sometimes you sit next to your grandpa, there's this comfort that you get. Like it's amazing. It's just that, I don't know how to explain this. So organic, right? Then you also have to be able to be comfortable for young people who are struggling. So because I came from that Jahiliya side, I was able to relate to young people and their sins. And I tell you, like, I don't preach, I don't drop verses, and I'm not like Zakir Naik, verse 2, chapter 3, like all that. I'm not DJing the verses. Like, I don't, like, I just just listening to them and giving them advice. And sometimes I share my authentic story about like how I struggle, and it's relatable. So when I found out that young people are coming to me and they're skipping the imam in the masjid, I thought that was I was like, what am I doing? Like, I had to be serious. I had to be real with myself. I was like, okay, am I like tricking them in to come talk to me, or like they're really actually feeling comfortable with me rather than just sitting down with a scholar who's been there for 30 years. So I think, that just giving back to people, just, I don't know, just gives me like life, man. That's like, I couldn't sit still without really doing that. So it's really meaningful and purposeful, and it's really prophetic.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. And honestly, that's, something that I think, I'm sure that a lot of us would love. Like, I know that's something I know that I'm just me assuming that something that I think you would love and enjoy doing as well. Sada is in that same boat, and I think anyone that really just cares about the community and the youth, obviously too, would love to do things that you are already doing, Mohammed. So we really do appreciate that, all the work that you have done. And like I said, Abir and Sada, feel free to unmute yourself. That's how I would know then that you guys are about to say something. So feel free to unmute yourselves. Go ahead, Abir.
Go ahead, Sada.
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up you get from me.
And it's funny. So Sada, you want to tell a quick story about how you know Mohammed already before this show?
Yeah, so I've known him probably since 4th grade. Yeah, 4th, 5th.
Don't go that back, man. You're making me.
It was.
Yeah.
And he was a prayer pro at the elementary and middle school that I was at. And like I was saying before, he was always somebody that I could look up to, speak to, and I'm sure everyone in my class and younger and older than me could say the same thing as well.
You know what's funny? I think Hamza Al-Masmari, he was in the Mr. Omar. I remember him. I don't know if you were in Mr. Omar class or Mr. Fadak's class?
So I had them both. So Miss Fadak was my 3rd grade teacher, and Mr. Omar was my 4th grade teacher.
4th, yeah. So anyways, so like, he calls me nowhere. It's been a minute, right? I haven't spoken to. I'm really connecting back with the community. He calls me like, Mr. Mohammed. I was like, hey, how's it going? Who's this? He's like, oh, it's Hamza. I was like, oh, Hamza, how are you? Blah, blah. Everything is good. I just want to thank you. I was like, thank me for what? I was like, oh, you used to give us all these khatiras, used to sit down and talk to us, and that changed my life. I was like, dude, you're in 4th grade, right?
That was like back in 05,
right?
Whatever. So he's been doing it. It's always been his calling,
right? So like it took me off. Like it kind of threw me off. I was like I didn't expect that, right? So I think like when it comes to that mentorship, that I think like you also do at Omar, you don't realize how many people you're impacting. Like, and one day people call you like, you know what, thank you for like keeping me distracted from, because you did this for me, right? And subhanAllah, I think like, when you really genuinely care, and this is something important, like you have to actually care. And how do you know somebody cares about you? It's not something that, gifts, could be a sign, somebody gifting you, somebody thanking you, but beyond that, the sign is the heart. So when somebody truly genuinely care about you, it's a matter of heart. It's a language of the heart. So when somebody truly cares about you and truly sincere, and you feel it in your heart, there's something about this person is so genuine, right? So even Prophet ﷺ, like لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Like it ached him, it pained the Prophet when he saw his people that were in pain. And I always fathom, I'm always like, it's taking me back, like the Prophet ﷺ, man, like people spat on his face, people threw his, stone at him, and yet this man stood up and making dua. Like he genuinely cared. You could not resist his love. So when you genuinely care about your, like not just Muslim, but as a humanity, like as a human being, you should care, right? Then that translates into a transformational experience, not just for yourself, but the person you're making an impact on, because you're genuine. And that's the whole foundation of like mentorship and being caring. And I think we all play the role of mentorship. We don't realize it. Like we're all play the life, I mean, sometimes you can actually help people be resourceful as a life coach, right? You can say, hey, maybe I don't have a solution, but here's somebody I know they can help you. Instead of just like, I don't know, and you just stop, like you should go above and beyond, say, hey, I can get you somebody I know, or I can find something for you. If you genuinely care about people and you want to be in service and you want to care, you got to take the extra step. And that's how you're able to transform not just that individual, but making an impact in the world.
Yep, definitely. I'm gonna give you some of those finger snaps as well, man. I'm gonna give you some of those finger snaps, man. I know you said you had to say something, Ibid, too.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to piggyback on what he said and how he was like, he's been there. Every child will want to talk to someone that's relatable, someone that won't judge them, someone that kind of like understands really what they're going through. It's very intimidating to go up to a sheikh and tell them, hey, I'm struggling with this. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, my honestly, my passion was social work. I got my undergrad, my associates in social work. It's just teaching, kind of, was another route for me. And but yeah, 100% being around the youth, just being any type of inspiration for the youth is beautiful. Like I see it with first graders, like let alone middle. Well, I feel like middle school needs a lot more in that age. But just I don't know, being around kids.
I remember sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I remember in 2001, 2002, and if you went to prom, you're known in the town. You went to prom and you're like absolutely the harami in there, right? It's like, yeah. Or like people know like you went to prom, like you were showing off.
I mean, it was okay for the boys to go to prom.
Of course, that's the other element, right? Of course, like, and fathers are handing on to the keys to like go have fun. Right? I'm like sitting here. I mean, I went. I'm not gonna deny it. Like I had my share of craziness, but it was crazy. That's like you wait for the whole 4 years. That's when you're like your haramness is like the top tier. and now I'm like sometimes like, oh my god, like stuff in the TikTok and the content. I was like, like this is like way like out of care. Like it's really bad.
It's different. It's a different world.
Wild.
So.
Right.
But that's why there's people like us to help. To understand where they're coming from and then help them make better choices. And
I like you also got to be careful, right? Sometimes like that's a trap for you if you're not really spiritually like solid in your foundation. Sometimes that could be fitna for you, right? So I think like, yes, you want to help them, and I think becoming more challenged right now. Like I tell people is like, listen, if a kid comes up and he keeps like, eventually I feel like our community, and I say this, a lot of people can disagree, but I'm seeing a big storm coming in our community where like if our kids just say La ilaha illallah, we'll celebrate. Like we'll celebrate. We'll be happy because they kept the shahada, because it's gonna get to that level, right? And there are communities that witness to previous, from Christian community to Jewish community. I mean, there are communities that have lost young people and they're completely lost the generations. And I think we're heading that way. So as much as you can do it. Just get involved. You don't have to have like, okay, here's a Quran, like, that's a Bible thumping. You don't have to thump people. You don't have to hit people with like, just beat. Like Prophet he never took a verse like, oh, this is how it is. And what's interesting is that every hadith or traditions that you pick up from the Prophet, it was an engaging conversation. Oh, Muaz, Can you tell me why we do this? And then Muaz would respond. He never it's not like a one way. I speak, you stay quiet, and you go home, right? The tradition, the way our masjid is run. Other than the khutbah, that's the way it's supposed to be. But everything that you attend in the masjid is very one way. And people just want to like gain knowledge, but they don't transform themselves from that knowledge because there is no interaction, there is no engaging. So I'm going back to Abi when you were mentioning, young men went to the Prophet and say, listen, I need to commit zina. This is in the center of in the masjid, he went up to the Prophet because Prophet had that kind of openness.
Yeah. Fahmi Hussein chiming in saying Mohammed is a good dude. Do you know Fahmi, Tony Hussein? Yeah. And then he said, I know it's Ramadan, but you all need more energy. Tony, the energy's about to come right now. I promise you. That's Fahmi, he likes to crack jokes. The energy's about to come right now. Before we start the segment of agree or disagree, Tony, I hope you can stay on with us because I know Tony loves opinions. And so we definitely can get Tony on the show.
Look, I want to say something because I know I know you were saying, I'm sorry, you were explaining how you think the youth will be happy and for them just to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. But I think the youth now know a little bit more as well. As much as I feel like yes, there's a lot more distractions and their resources are abundant, like even bad resources. But at the same time, I feel like growing up, I can only speak for myself and like my siblings, when we went to Arabic school, it was a lot different. We didn't have that English teacher, the YouTube videos, Umar Suleiman, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have our mentors in that way. It was really like you memorize the Quran, and learn how to read and you're on your own. I feel like, I have a son in middle school, so I feel like he understands a lot more and he has that love and that connection with Allah. I feel like a little bit more than I did when I was younger. I was more afraid of my parents. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's like that balance of like, I do understand what you're trying to come in with when saying like, okay, our generations are getting a lot more like difficult to embrace and to mentor. But at the same time, like I feel like they have, they're just steered.
Yeah. So in terms, like for example, do you know how many percentage of people, or do you know how many percentage of the community attends Jummah Khutbah?
No, you're right. No, I know we do lack a lot of community youth programs. I feel like the ICD in Dearborn is like elite. They have a lot going on, but I feel like, especially in Hamtramck alone, like I don't know if
here's my problem. I'm glad we're starting to like agree. I like that. So here's my problem with a lot of these.
You told us to wake up, so we're waking up.
I'm glad. Yeah. So here's the problem with a lot of these religious institutions, and I'm not going to mention any name because they're still good work, right? My problem is it's serving the same religious groups. So when you have a halakha, you're going to see the same religious kids attending. Same, and the organizers feel so good because 200 people showed up in their qiyam. Really? It's the same 200 showed up last week. It's the same 100 that you're feeding the same content, same lecture. But guess what? You're not actually targeting the real audiences, the sinners. You're not chasing the kids who are actually involved in drugs, alcohol, dating. Those are the kids. Those are supposed to be your customer. Those are supposed to be your dawah. So I can bring it on. Bring the stuff, right? Because we are constantly serving the same.
You're right with that.
It's like,
what is a way that you can?
Sorry. I think there's a
lag.
You
were talking like I cut you off. Go ahead and finish. And then I have
so I think like, we are like, it's like me going to go feed somebody, right? And I pass a homeless. I'm going to feed the guy who has chicken and beef in his fridge already, but I'm going to take that guy out and feed him, skipping the homeless. So it's like, what I'm saying is that I think, look, I'll give your, brother props because he's actually bringing in crowd more than the masjid is through his leagues, through his service project. Like I know like this show is supposed to be about me, but it should be about him, honestly, because he's actually doing more prophetic work than a lot of this religious institution is. That's where we're not really waking up as a community. And we get happy. Why? Because again, going back to this religious institution, you kind of see like if Omar Suleiman shows up in your masjid tomorrow, how many people show up? Everybody will show up. And that's the culture paradigm problem, is the celebrity scholars is like, and I get it. They're relatable, they're relevant, but there's nothing after it. You have a lot of people attending these classes, weekend courses, and they sign up and it's like, the whole community is lit. But if you really take 50% of those students, and if they give 1 hour back to their community, wallahi, we'll have a transformational community in ours, as a matter of fact. but they're not, because it goes back to that narcissism behavior, like just gaining knowledge. There's no act of transformation. That's not what our faith is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at right now, go to the masjid, not to like, I'm sorry, not to go to tangent. Like I went to like, you go to the masjid, everybody's studying and praying Taraweeh, and like, just, I'm like, what? Like, and right next day it's empty. And again, this is not a negative conversation. It's, we need to be able to assess and see where is our priority, what needs to be done. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Definitely. And this is what Mohammed does. Because that leads to my next question is he observes, I guess, situations, and then he brings the discussions onto the social media posts sometimes. And, you know, my question to you before we go into the agree or disagree segment is, you know, why do you feel like these topics need to be discussed? And I'm sure, I mean, if you were to ask me, I kind of would know the answer, but maybe for those that are out there that are listening, like, why do you address, or why do you have like maybe a question of a day that has like a back and forth discussion with some of the people that are on your social media feeds? So why do you feel the need to do that?
So there's a lot of community work that I do with a lot of the massage institutions, right? There are board members, leaders. These are the stakeholders, decision makers. And I feel like, you know, there's we can always agree to disagree. There's a generational gap, right? So you have the elders who are running the board, and then you have the young people who are completely outside, right? And we're always blaming each other. Like, for example, I'm at a middle age. I'm seeing the both sides now. I feel like our ammos and our, you know, look, I got to give the props to our leaders who established the massages. They came to this country, they fed us, they made sure we went to school, right? They took care of all the bills, and they established masjid, built so many institutions, and they're still part of the institution. They're still showing up to Fajr, they're still showing up to Isha, they're still active and engaged in their own way, right? Maybe it could be very like, and they're not letting it go to the next generation. I get it. But then you have these young professionals. We're much more educated, we're making more money, we speak English better, like we have more access to contents, resources. We don't donate enough. We're not involved in our institutions. And when we want to get involved and they don't give us rein, or we're not taking it, we don't do things fast, we walk away. Like we have to question our, you know, selves too. So like when I bring up these topics, my hope is sometimes I'm causing a stir intentionally to see where people thought processes. And I was like, this is going to go too wrong. And I think like, our extension of our tongue is our keyboard nowadays, right? And sometimes if I'm sitting and thinking about something, people can take it out of context. I realize that. So I try to avoid it, but I'm like trying to bring the balance. But I think it's a good, healthy way to really, engage community members from both generations to see that perspective, right? And I think there's a bit of maybe frustration of saying like, guys, can't like, we need to, like, and I have the energy of like, let's do something. I'm talking about let's act on what we have gained knowledge. If you have been attending khutbah for the last 5 years, that's equal to a PhD degree of amount of knowledge.
That is,
just think about it.
True. Yeah.
Like how much are we acting in? How much, like you mentioned, Omar, earlier before we began, right? Like, okay, it just, you feel like you can be there for that young person, right? It's much more effective than just curriculum, it's structural. I think the act of transformation it's completely MIA in our spiritual space, in our community.
Yep. Snapping fingers, Sada and Abir. Yeah, definitely the snapping the fingers moments right there. And now comes the fun part. All right. So I've went through some of Mohammed's interesting conversation starters, and I decided to pick a few of them. And I think he had another good one today. I'm gonna have to go check it out. Maybe you know which one I'm talking about today too. Maybe we could do it later afterwards. So this segment right here, and if you're watching, feel free to hit agree, feel free to hit disagree, feel free to tell us why you agree or disagree. And so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up with a topic that Mohammed, by the way, brought up on his social media. And then, we're gonna agree or disagree with them. We're gonna share our answers, all right? So now we get to hear more answers, even also now from Sada and Abid as well. So Sada, I'm gonna start off with you.
Would have gotten more prepared.
Yeah, so Sada, I'm gonna start off with you on this one, okay? Topic number 1.
Oh God.
No, actually, I'll start off with Abid on this one. I don't want to put pressure on you. Yeah, I'm gonna start with Abid on this one. So
let's go.
Even the wonderful things in this world can take you away from Allah. Do you agree with this or disagree with this? And explain yourself.
Yes, I agree. I agree because sometimes work could take over your life. Sometimes your kids can take over your life. Sometimes, even the significant other, you know what I mean, can take over your life. However, if you can, counteract on that by putting your intentions for Allah, like saying, I'm your friend for the sake of Allah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're hanging out with your friends, you're building that bond, you're going to bring up Allah in that, gathering. Loving your wife or your husband for the sake of Allah, loving your kids, working for your family for the sake of Allah. Like, you can like transform that into a benefit, but at the same time, you can lose yourself in your work, in your job, in your, we've all had times where we've worked and we missed Salah. You know what I'm saying? Or we had, was watching my son play basketball, football, whatever, and in Evans, and you know what I'm saying? We're not praying on time. I feel like that's losing Allah in a way, So yes, I do understand. And yes, we need to work better with that, or work better on that aspect.
I see you, big sis. That was a great answer. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sarah, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go next. Sarah, do you agree, disagree?
I completely agree. As humans, we sometimes forget why we are brought to this life. And when we do forget, it's kind of like, for example, when you're making dua, you're making dua for you to pass a test, or for you to make this amount of money and stuff like that. And we forget to also make dua for ourselves for the afterlife. And I think that's really important. Like, we're so invested into this life, and then so invested into getting then the blessings that we make dua for and whatnot. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always gives us blessings. The littlest things are our blessings, that we don't realize that we're not preparing ourselves for the real test and the real journey of this life. So yeah.
Right, Omar.
And I was gonna just piggyback off. What were you about to say, Mohammed?
I said, what about you? Agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I agree. I love what my sister Abida said. You're muted right now, Abida, by the way. I don't know if you were saying something. But honestly, I'm
saying he's trying to hear all our sides before he gets us really hard right now.
Yeah, no. I was gonna tell Mohammed actually if we could, like, in this whole segment, let us answer, then we're gonna dish it to him at the end, just so like he can punch us in the face with his answers or something like that. But what I was gonna say was, honestly, I mean, hit it right, hit the nail right on the head. Honestly, I think the way she answered it is, if we can change our mindset and whatever it is that we're doing it for the sake of Allah, that will keep us close with Allah in the things that are kind of quote unquote taking us away from Allah. And obviously it's almost like this is like a conversation of worldly things and then things of the afterlife, right? Like, we can't sit here, as much as we enjoy the worldly things, the things that are right in front of us, the things that, are putting smiles on our faces for the temporary moment. We can't forget about, the afterlife and what are we really here for? And that is to be closer to Allah and to try to please Allah and whatever it is that we're doing. So like Abida said, if we could keep that in mind and say, hey, I'm going to go and hang out with my friends for the sake of Allah. That's how I kind of approach this event. People were asking me, were you confident? Honestly, in the back of my head, I was like, man, I'm doing this for Allah. Like, that's my head. I didn't want to say that to people so people get rubbed off the wrong way and stuff. But like, in my head, like, I was confident in the event because like I'm doing it for the sake of Allah. And like, I know that if, I'm doing this for Allah, Allah is going to make it successful and whatever we feel success was. And, in terms of numbers wise, like it surpassed my expectations. And I'm not surprised. Why? Because I had the mindset as I was doing it for the sake of Allah, So that's kind of like the mindset you should have with everything in that approach. But Mohammed, on you now in that situation.
You get that. So I mean, like, a lot of my posts are reflective of sometimes, like, deep thoughts and things that I face challenge with communities and organizing and things like that, right? And in terms of like when I got to go back and look at some of my comments that I made after, because I have like follow-up thoughts after that, right? Like, think about it this way. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Alhaakum at-takathur hatta zurtum al-maqabir," like the good stuff almost distracts you from the important work that you do. And this is not to say that you should not have the best of this world, right? Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Like, I think Allah is encouraging us to, ask for the best of this world. And I mean, if you look at how we live our lives, is, like, I always question myself, like, I'm living in Warren in a like suburb privileged community. Where should I, like, I had this epiphany and I asked my mentor, like, I feel like I should be living in Detroit and serving the community that is deserving and living with the people of the struggle, right? Not where it's secluded, I'm secured, I got my, because I can afford it. Like, there's something in me bothers me about that, right? So I think like when it comes to, you can like everything, like going back to Sister Abir said, wonderful. I had another post. I talked about Bismillah, right? So like I made a comment saying Bismillah is not a complete sentence. So if I tell you guys over there, you're going to be like, what? Over there, what? Right? You're going to want something follow up. So Bismillah is not a complete sentence unless you do something after it. So Bismillah, I'm going to play basketball. That becomes an ibadah. Bismillah, I'm going to go teach. That becomes an ibadah. Bismillah, I'm going to go serve somebody. Everything becomes an ibadah for a believer. Because, salah starts when it ends. Salah starts when it ends. So when you finish salah, that's when it begins. Why? Because that act of praying should transform you to live what you said in your verses. So like, in terms of how we portray this world, we have to be careful, because honestly, like, a lot of us are distracted. We have a side hustle going on. We're trying to get the next house. We're trying to rent it out to the next Bengali Yemenis coming overseas, right? I mean, we got that. I mean, the hustle mentality is good, but you got to act and you got to practice giving also. Right? I mean, mashallah, like some of the guys I know, like they give 10% away of their wealth, and what Allah is doing, giving them more. This is amazing. So you have to be the giving when you got to be careful when you're taking from this world. If you're not utilizing, just like Abu Bakr gave everything for the sake of for the dawah work. That's amazing. And he's a multimillionaire at that time, right? If you compare the status. So I'm not, I think people, I wanted the message to be like, hey, just like, Sister Abir said, everything becomes an ibadah if you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think we think about ibadah as just salli, right? No, like your God, like that's everything is an ibadah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And that was just topic 1, everybody. I think we got like 4 of them over here. So, all right, moving on to topic 2. Sada, you will have to start this one. So be ready. And like I said, my wife chimes in. She said truth, sad truth. Actually, I believe that's when you were talking about, it was something earlier that you were talking about, Mohammed. So she was agreeing with that. I remember seeing that. I forgot to read off her comment. Hopefully she lets me eat iftar now that I didn't read off her comment at the right time. Just kidding. She's a great woman, great lady. All right, so Sada, I'm gonna start with you. She's laughing, Sada. Next topic number 2. You want to destroy your kids, give them cell phone. Agree or disagree? Sada, you're unmuted. I mean, you're muted right now, by the way, Sada. Go ahead.
All right, so I don't have kids. So I can't, like, I'm going to say this in a sense where I completely believe that I'll have angel kids. And I always say this to my mom and everybody, like, oh, no, my kids are going to be angels. So,
yeah.
So I think it's fine. I think it's something that, as long as it's utilized in a correct way and there's parental control over it, it should be had. There's nothing wrong. Give them kids the phones so you can enjoy your time.
What's the opposite? What's the opposite of snapping of the fingers? What's the opposite of snapping of the fingers? Thumbs down.
Those tomatoes.
Well, you guys
throw tomatoes.
I'm gonna quickly say this. First of all, my daughter, I'm not gonna lie. She goes on the phone. She goes on YouTube. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not gonna sit here and act like that. We don't stop my daughter. Like, we try to limit it as much as possible, but she does go on it. And I cannot tell you how impactful those phones can be on a kid, good or bad. And so, like my daughter, I'm gonna use a quick example, and then I'm gonna let you guys answer. So she, we had to stop her from watching certain stuff because, she likes to watch kids who, do their daily lives, play with dolls and stuff like that. And then so she started to pick up this little whiny attitude, and my wife and I started to notice it. And we're like, why she's doing that? And then we realized, like, what she's watching on YouTube is this girl who constantly like whines, and like, I guess this is what she does, and like the kids like watching it. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I forgot, like. But like, she's picking it up, and that just gives you like an example of like what can be like, and that's just having that device. And I know you meant cell phone, not just cell phone, like any kind of device, I'm assuming. But that's what those devices do, those iPads, those cell phones. And cell phones even worse. Like, once they get to that age of texting and messaging and all that stuff, it can get even worse. But like I said, me as an adult, I was just talking to Mohammed beforehand. Like, if I could ever reach the point where I don't have to be on social media, I will not even be on social media, just because like I know the distractions that come with it. So that's my answer. I want you to answer. Like I said, we're gonna leave Mohammed always last on these topics, just so he can kind of like wrap it up for us. But what's your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I really don't like, so alhamdulillah, like, I have a middle school boy, he's 12 years old. He's in that age where he's, you know, discovering himself or whatever. Alhamdulillah, he's not into like video games. Like, he doesn't play video games all day. Like, he'd rather be outside. He plays all the sports. So like, I love that he has the brotherhood. My brothers, mashallah, tabarakallah, they're in his life. So he's always constantly busy. He doesn't have that much time to be on his phone. But at the same time, like, I still have the parental advisory lock where he can't get an app unless I okay it. I still look through his phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still try to be as much involved as possible in like what he's doing. But obviously I know he's a boy and, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, I need to be able to communicate him when he is away from me. Like, that's the only reason why, like, he really does have a phone. If there was a way where I can communicate with him without him needing a phone, obviously I would love for him not to have the device in his hand all the time. But it's so hard to, once they get older, it's hard for you to control like the amount of time they're on their phone. There's times where I'm like, okay, watch this video, or I'll send him a video, I need you to watch this. And like, it's just so much, you have to give them the trust at the same time. Yes, it is. It's a blessing and a curse. Really, it really is. There's so much at their fingertips, literally. Like, they can search anything. Like, it doesn't matter, good or bad. But we can't stop it. Like, you can't control. Like, that's what I'm gonna say. Okay, I'm done.
I want to just jump into your conversation. It's kind of also a part of life. It's a part of them growing, and a part of them maturing, and a part of them realizing, what they had to realize. You get what I'm saying? So like, that's why of course it should be a certain age and whatnot, and you kind of like, you should know your child as well and know the maturity. But I mean, they're gonna make mistakes, and that's how they're gonna learn. You can't overprotect on any of the kids.
The crazy thing about it is, like, I didn't get my first phone until I was a senior. You know what I'm saying? And here my son is in 6th grade. He got his first phone. So like, times are changing because there's no house phones, there's no landlines anymore. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you gotta
bring landline back.
You just have to be able.
No, go ahead, Ivan. Go ahead. I was gonna just read off comments. Go ahead, Ivan.
You just need to be like, I need to be able to communicate with him. That's my biggest thing, is I need to be able to communicate with him at all times. But yeah. So
a couple quick comments. Tony said, terrible, no cell phones. Fahmi, that is. Then Ahmed said, Auntie Sada, it's the worst tantrum. Sada is laughing. So then Tony said, how long will you continue to do that for? I believe he was talking to you, Abid. It's a very thin line, and we're leaving them susceptible to a lot of bad. Parenting is very difficult in this society. So Mohammed, now you want to answer your own question, I believe.
Okay, so I guess obviously it's a hot topic because a lot of the youth work we do in the ground and the challenges parents come up to us and face. So let me just step back and bring you back to the foundation, right? Kids are amana to us, right? They're trust from God, and basically Allah gives you this naked baby, and He expects, He gives you all the autonomy as a good parent. Of course, you decide that before you get married, and you're able to have that mindset. And it's a trust, it's an amana to wrap this gift up and put it back in the world so that they have an impact in the world. I grew up in a tough love environment, just like just get things done and all that. And I've seen so many elements of like, especially a lot of Muslims like, oh, we should have as many kids. The Prophet, said we want to have an ummah. I was like, I don't know. Like, I maybe I'm in the other side. I was like, it's not about having kids. It's about like, are you going to give them their rights? Are you going to spend time with them? Time and tarbiyah. This is something that a lot of parents don't provide. And I think even the young professionals are struggling because we have not been grown up that way. Right. We got tough love. So we don't know how to transcribe our love to our kids. So like, I have a hard time sometimes like hugging my child or expressing love, or even to my wife. It's like, I'm not as expressive, right? That's one of our biggest complaints because I haven't grown up that way. So there's a generational impact thing that is impacting my relationship. Right. So what I'm saying is that going back to the cell phone issue is that their trust. So if you really raise them up from the foundation or from the fundamental, right? Like, for example, our kids, there's a timer in my kitchen. I have a 7 and 5 year old, right? There's a timer, and the only thing they can watch, of course, I know what they're watching, is my son is very into nature, like nature documents. We got him involved in like a BBC documentary or like anything like that. So he's so into that. And even like, for example, let's say when we watch a movie, my wife will sit with them and watch the whole movie for the weekend. And if there's anything like, for example, like you mentioned, Omar, you realize your daughter's acting up, right? Or certain attitude. Blimpy was an issue. Like we were like, they're not watching this because he's throwing tantrum, he's making mess, right? I mean, look at our show. I used to watch Arthur, man, Magic School Bus. Like I'm going back to the old stuff, and like, you know what, you can watch Magic School Bus if you want to, because it's more and tuning to that. But there's a time frame of balancing. But I'm talking about actual cell phone device in like, I think I think now they're coming up with a process where you can get a cell phone, which is flip phone. You can call, that's the purpose of the cell phone, and you can text, right? In terms of internet. And there are parents who had best practices where they would tell their kids, you're not allowed to take their cell phone in your room. You have to keep a downstairs charge in the main lobby. So you're not allowed. So there are best practices parents came up with, and it's working. But what I'm saying is I've seen so many parents just give them device and their phone. I'm sitting there like, that's a red flag, because there are subliminal messages being inputted into our kids. Like I had to have a conversation with my 6-year-old about like LGBT conversation. And because it's from the movies, from the content, it's the shows, they're really powerful, man. Media is a very powerful thing. So you have to be absolutely conscious and actively involved in your kid's life when it comes to cell phone, right? So that's good. Abi, you have restrictions, you have content, but still like middle school having a cell phone, like I think like there has to be some sort of, I mean, of course, the most important thing you can give your kids is a good sohbah, good companions. So you have to create a community around with it. If I send my kids to my friend's house, I know he's not gonna just turn the TV on and that's his babysitting. No, when I send my son to my friend Shahir's house or like from Tasnis, I know they're not gonna turn the TV on because they're gonna actually give him attention and talk and engage with them. It's a lot of guys. Parenting is work. Like Sarah, take note, man. It's work. You cannot escape this work. Like, okay, here's a cell phone, leave us alone, because you have to actually make schedule time, conversate with them as an adult. You have to actually you have to get on your knees and explain things. It's a lot of, nobody warned me this, guys. Okay. Like marriage is work. Parenting is work. I was like, oh my God. Right. Yeah. And you got to create a village to support that system. So going back to the cell phone issue, be careful, because it is absolutely, you're giving access to the entire world. Right. Yeah. And kids are smart, they can find unlocked ways of getting content, by the way. You think you have a lock? Oh, trust me, they have ways. There's always hackers.
Like I'm not trying to brag. I'm really not trying to brag, but like I grew up with Ramzi. Like I had him really young, and I work at the same school that he goes to. I know all of his friends. We hang out. I'd like to think that we have this relationship where he wouldn't lie to me, like, So I think being involved, it gets even more than just the phone. It's being involved, like you were saying, sitting, watching movies with them, talking to them, having conversations. Yeah. Like my way with my son is always an emotional way. Like I'll get to him in an emotional way instead of just telling him, no, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, do you understand where I'm coming from? Like, do you know why I'm doing this? But it's hard.
That's good. And I think you're a great mother. I mean, the fact that you're spending time, I like, look, take credit where it belongs, because this is like, for example, I had a parent come up to me. We had a program called Mentorship program called Rising Souls, right? I took a bunch of young professionals and connected them with the middle schoolers every Friday, 2 hours, and they come in to check in. One of the parents came with their son, and he had this attitude, like he was sitting in the office and like they want to sign up, and she was like, please, brother, can I send my son? He's not lit. And I asked her for one question. Okay, sister, what does your husband do? Because you have to understand it's a family how they make money and all that. There's a lot of factors. You cannot judge everybody in their situations, right? Oh, he's in IT. I said, okay, he's making good money. It's not like he's probably working from home most of the time. And I asked her, like, how much time is your husband spending with your son? She goes, oh, brother, he doesn't have time. I said, Jazakallah, sister, here's the money. Give this to your husband and tell him to spend 1 hour a week with your son. You don't need this. I literally told, and she was like, "You serious, brother?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm serious. You're coming him, and you think the masjid is like, what am I going to do in the masjid? Have a Zamzam water? I'm going to like baptize him? No, I'm not here to baptize your son to make him a perfect Muslim. It's a start at home."
Yeah.
Definitely. That's beautiful. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Tony has some good comments here, so I want to read it off right quick. He said, that's why he keeps hooping, by the way, so that he can play with his kids and encourage them. Unfortunately, Tony hasn't hooped since December. he had currently tore his ACL. Inshallah, quick recovery, Tony. But he was, by the way, the most upset guy of the whole basketball game. He couldn't play in the Hamtramck versus Dearborn basketball game. That was his one time to shine, and unfortunately he couldn't do it. But he was commentating. He did a great job commentating for the game. And then he says, I used to want 10 kids when I was growing up and settled for 4 out of fear of the society that we growing up in. And then he says, I tried to stay in shape for intimidating purposes. By the way, that's Tony's line. And he said, in all seriousness, great topic. Yeah, so we're moving on now. We're moving on.
So can I just add one more thing?
One and done here, just saying.
One and done. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think 2. We got a boy and a girl. Khalas, right? I have Jibril and Malak. So I got the 2 angels. Hopefully they live up to the name. So here's the thing. I think Brother Tony, what he's saying in terms of staying shape and active, I think that's the most powerful thing, right? That's the case in point. And it's not about like just being fearful about like, having more or not, quality versus quantity. I had some thought. I lost it for a second. I want to say, but that's important. And this is what I want to say. What I love about Yemeni community, man. Y'all do it early. Y'all get married early. Like I wanted to get married early, right? And I tried marry on a fiat, man. The dowry was too expensive. But that's
not always good.
That's a different discussion. But what happened was that what I love about it, because you guys are able to get in, like, protecting yourself, getting married early and able to stabilize, and you're actually raising your kids with you as you grow, right? Like I'm 38 right now. Like if I had my kid when I was 20, I'm like, by now he's 18. I had the synergy power, like, right. But now, like he said, you got to stay active. You got to engage. You got to be, you cannot be coming from home. You're tired. Oh, I'm tired. Leave me alone. If your son says, I want to go play. As a matter of fact, put your tiredness in the back, go play. Because that's what you're supposed to do as a father. That's his right. He has more right than your work and your community and everything else.
Yep. There you go. That's beautiful, man. And I agree with that 100%, by the way. All right. Topic number 3, by the way. Qamar Zindani chimes in, says, Salam. Hello, everyone. Beautiful people. I believe you know Qamar because she tagged me in a post saying that, tagged both of us, right? Saying that, she loves the work that you do as well. So shout out to Qamar, a friend of the podcast as well. We're in the middle of some great conversations, Qamar. So what I'm doing right now, and for those that are watching, basically we are bringing up topics that Mohammed has posted in his social media, and we're just kind of discussing if we agree or disagree with them. This one's a good one. So Mohammed said, try Fajr instead of Taraweeh. I guess more so of why. This is a why one, right? Like let's think of why. And I know I'm gonna start this one, I guess, because I haven't started it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and assume, because Taraweeh is a prayer that, number one, if I'm correct, it's not mandatory. And therefore it's only during the month of Ramadan. And whereas Fajr, obviously there's so much blessings to doing it on time and doing it every single, because it's an everyday prayer. And so therefore, you said this because to do Fajr, obviously to pray the Fajr prayer, that's something that if you can get accustomed to, this is an everyday thing, and this is expected from us every single day. That's something that people should strive for. Whereas Taraweeh prayer, that's something that is not, obligatory and only a month during the month of Ramadan. And therefore, it's great. Obviously, both prayers are great, and not trying to knock on one or the other. But if you can focus on, the constantly doing the Fajr prayer and getting used to it, that there's so much reward to it, especially since it's an everyday prayer compared to the Taraweeh prayer, which people obviously try to focus on, especially during the month of Ramadan. And that's my response to that topic thing. And so Abid, I don't know, like I said, we're going to save Mohammed last. Abid, your thoughts on that? Try Fajr prayer instead of Taraweeh. You have any comments on that one, Abid? I don't know if you can hear me right now. Okay, there you go.
Yes, I can hear. Sorry. So I think what he basically, just to piggyback on what you were saying, are we as Muslims, the only difference between us and like the Kafirin is our prayer. So if you get your 5 prayers that are mandatory down, I feel like your whole day gets structured and, a very, because like Muhammad was saying, prayer starts after you finish, or no, what is it? How did you say it?
Starts after it ends.
There you go. Salah starts ends. So basically, you wake up in the morning, you Salah Fajr on time, you're already on a great start of the day. You know what I'm saying? And it continues throughout the day. You know, just like schoolwork, right? You know, when you do what's actually like what the teacher actually gives you to do, you don't worry about the extra credit first. You know, you get done whatever you need to get done, and then now if those prayers, say you weren't focused on that prayer, or you know it wasn't to the T, or you were late, and now you do the extra credit prayers, that helps out. You know what I'm saying? And balances out your good deeds. But focus on what is mandatory and what needs to be done, and perfect that first. You know. But at the same time, obviously, if you could Salah Tarawih, I'm not saying don't Salah Tarawih. I want to make that clear. But just perfect what needs to be perfected first. That's mandatory. I'm sorry, it's Ramadan, and I don't know why my tongue is getting all twisted.
You're good. You're good.
Sarah, go ahead.
You guys kind of like nipped it in the bun, but I did want to mention, I think the reason why you also chose this Fajr prayer is because it's the one that, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, is the kind of the hardest to pull my legs out of the bed and whatnot. And you know, and Fajr prayer is the only prayer with the when they qum salah, they say, you know, al salat khairan min al nom. And I think that's the one, and it's the easiest one because it's only 2 rak'ats. But the amount of blessings and the amount of goodness that comes out of it is khairan min al nom, khairan from, you know, the whole world. So
there we go. By the way, Mohammed, before we pass it on to you, Jaikarul Islam said salam, by the way. Just want to make sure that we give you a shout out. And then Councilman Adam and Birmeki said, mashallah, great topics. Thank you, Councilman Adam and Birmeki. But Mohammed, dishing it to you, why did you say that try Fajr instead of Taraweeh?
You know what's interesting is that, like, so I jokingly say this in our community, like, for, let's say, if you have a basketball league happening, right, and you bring a bunch of Muslim kids together, just get the ref to be the white man, and I promise you they'll respect all the calls. But if you get like a Muslim guy to be there, the ref, nobody's gonna respect his calls, right? They're gonna overstep. Like, you have so many influencers in social media, in other platforms, talking about morning meditation. You're talking about waking up early. You know, if you look at most of the multimillionaires, their schedule is crazy. They wake up 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like, you know, mashallah, like they're talking. And I have this like thought process, like, you know what, all these guys, you know, Allah says, Allah comes down to the first heaven in tahajjud. And I said, ask me, what do you want? I'll give it to you. And I think Muslims are sleeping and the non-Muslims are meditating crazy stuff. And I was like, okay, you want to take it. Right. So my perception was that 98% to 99%, and because I'm so involved with the community in the masjid work, right, I've seen the same repetitive concept years in being involved. People come, and it's a good environmental thing. It's a good feeling, right? Everybody comes and enjoy. It's a nice like element to it. It's beautiful. I go to I go to Taraweeh and there just to see the environment. When I went last night and I was like, I'm done. I'm going home, because the guy was reciting so fast. I was like he's like in a Speedy Gonzalez style, right? I couldn't do it. I didn't enjoy. I just prayed Isha and call it at night. But what I was trying to
go to work,
huh?
It's like people have to go to work. I'm just teasing. I'm being funny.
Not just that. Like, I think people are just like standing and just like struggling. I'm like, guys, that's not even far. 1, 2, like, it's like going to gym for only 30 days and you expect results. Right after the Eid, wallahi, the saddest part about community, our masjid is empty, right? And nobody goes back. So my suggestion was, okay, if you go to Taraweeh, then keep the consistent praying Isha in the masjid. Right? Just at least pray Isha every like, imagine the same line of crowd. It's consistent, just praying Isha. That's how you're able to revamp the camp. And the reason I said this, you know, so for me, my practice, like, I want to pray Isha and go to bed, not pray Taraweeh, and I'll wake up Fajr and go to masjid and Fajr, because it takes some days to create a habit. And by the way, like, I've been wanting to build a habit. I've been working for years to get that going. Right? I struggle too, like Sarah, like, don't be ashamed. Like, you know, sometimes the blanket is heavier than our muscles, right? Because it's really tough, especially in Michigan, you know, with the cold weather. But like, you know, but once you get up and get it done, you're so you have to base it on your discipline rather than your emotion. But your emotion attaches with you once you're able to be disciplined and standing in prayer. And I think there's a beauty to it, praying in the Fajr, right? So if we were to, as a community, decide on these two, okay, like consistent in Isha or consistent in Fajr in the masjid, within 30 days, your body, your style of life, you get used to it. and it becomes a habit. I think that's where you actually see a transformation as a society, as a community, right? And I feel like people are just like, I saw people are just struggling. I'm like, you don't have to be in this prayer. Like, go home, reflect on one verse. Just one verse reflection is much better than like standing and reciting. Like, you're just, I don't know. I feel like we're not prioritizing our spiritual journey. So that was my take on it, as saying, like, just my suggestion, like, do that.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that, man. And so we're going to keep it rolling. All right. We're going to move on to topic number 4. Topic number 4 is time versus money. Which asset is more important and why? Okay. So Abir, we're going back to you, starting off with you on this one. Time versus money. Which asset is more important and why?
As I get older, time is way more valuable. Once you start, making, when you're young, you're making money here and there, it's not enough or whatever. And when you start making enough money and you realize that you're missing out on a lot of time for yourself, for your mental health, for you really begin to reprioritize how much you're working. I know he was saying earlier, like, people have side hustles and whatever. I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I have to prioritize myself with having work, teaching, and then doing the picnic decor business on the side. I do find myself losing myself into all of that and not having time to spend with family and friends and myself. So time is way more important. Like, there's times where I'll give up an event or whatever because I just can't. You know what I'm saying? And I could have made a lot of money at that time. But no, subhanAllah, like, it's not all about the money. Your time is more valuable. You never know when you're gonna die. And I'm not gonna sit here in front. This is the first Ramadan that I've actually have focus on the hereafter. I think a lot of it has to do with our dad, Allah yarhamah, passing away in the summertime. It kind of put things in perspective. Like, my dad worked his life off to build a home in Yemen to retire in, and he wasn't able to do that. And just being mindful of what's happening in the qabr, what's happening, what's going to happen to us when Yawm al-Qiyamah happens. And the time is way more valuable.
Sada, I'm gonna pass it to you.
You said it. I agree. Time. There's nothing really else I could chime into that, but 100% time, because time is priceless. With every minute that counts on this day and every day, it's literally how it could affect your life, whether it's temporary or to the end. So choosing who you're spending your time with, how you're spending your time, where you're spending your time is completely and utterly in my opinion, more important than the money. And time is money. So
Definitely. I think that was like a rapper said that line or something right there. The way she said it, yeah. But listen, I was hoping somebody would say money because I wanted to like use this line against them. But this is for anybody that thinks money. Okay. First of all, I'm all time. Okay. I can't tell you guys enough how time is very important. Like, I tell, my family members, I tell
mashallah. Let me cut you off real quick, Ahmad, mashallah, tabarakallah, this guy right here, he will have a list in the morning and he will, like, he doesn't care. I love you to death, Ahmad, but it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If he needs to get it done during that time, he's like, no, I need you right now to do it. You know what I'm saying? So very persistent.
10:30.
Very persistent.
That's the time limit.
And very on time. It doesn't matter about anybody else's time. It's his time.
And that's why you see all the barakah and the work that he does, right?
No, but that's also too. Our dad was like that. Time was really important. Like, don't waste anybody's time. Don't waste my time. So literally, and that's how it was. But that's how you kind of also structure your life in a way where, like, you're not wasting any time, and you're not wasting other people's time, and you're utilizing the time, the 24 hours in the day. So
I feel like Ahmad feels bad when he wastes time. He's like, I should be doing something now.
100%. And that's my problem, I guess. That's something I'm trying to deal with too, by the way. I need to learn how to sometimes relax. But what I want to make sure people understand is, number one, it's about that wasting time part that I was going to get at. And I'm going to use this analogy just so people could understand why, like, being aware, and Sada mentioned this, of being aware of who you're hanging around with and how you are spending your time. So if someone came up to you and in front of your face went up to you and went in your wallet and took out $50 and stole it from you, you would probably fight that person. You would probably say, what are you doing? And try to stop that person from doing that. Like, they try to stop them from taking that money. But what you don't realize is that's what's happening with your time. So this is why I wanted to say this. I wanted to share this with people. People are taking your time away. And for that famous line, time is money. Like, when I sit there and I hang out with people that are, you know, and no offense, like these people who are just doing nothing. And sometimes it's good to do nothing, right? I literally, in my time, in my day, I literally say, like, okay, for these 2 hours, I want to do nothing. Like, I want to go hang out with my cousins and if they're play some Madden, I don't care. Let's do that, you know. But like, it's the time where you are, you know, you plan to do something, you end up doing nothing. Like, that bothers me so much. And I tell people, like, you know, for those of you that get so mad when people take your money away or somebody robbed you, like, to me, getting robbed of your time is even worse. It's even worse because I look at it like, I could be hanging out with my daughters. I could be hanging out with my wife. I could be hanging out with my family, spending time. Like, we just sat there and talked about all the different things that we could be doing for our kids. Like, imagine the time I could have been spending with them and being around them, even if it's just playing catch with my daughter or, you know, coloring with her, like all these things that could have been done. So therefore, like, for those of you that get mad, for those of you that get upset, if you ever lost money or somebody took money from you, like, the anger that you feel inside, you should match that same anger when they take the time away from you, because time is so much more valuable. Like, money comes and goes, but time, once it's lost, it's never coming back. So go ahead, Sada.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, you know, you can make your money back, but you can't. Time can't go back. The time wasted, you cannot get it back.
For sure.
Yes,
for sure.
I think, like, you know, when I was making that statement, I was just, you know, again, I come from a community work paradigm, right? So I'm always looking at, like, I can collect a good amount of money, and the same people, if I ask them, hey, can you give me an hour of your time to get involved in the community? They don't have it. Like seriously, I had so many young professionals, mentees, that I'm trying to get them involved in the community, but we can't even meet up because we don't have time. I'm sitting there like, guys, do you like? And then let's step back for a second too. Like, recently I made another post about, like, you know, I wanted to hear from people about having more kids. Like, you know, me and my wife, we talked about it. We talked like, should we have more kids, you know, or should we just, this is it, right? Quality. And there's a part of me that wants to, but then there's part of me is like, no, we're good, right? Everything's automated. They know how to use the bathroom. They're like, okay, I don't want to go to the whole phase again, right? Then and somebody said, you know, Sister Maha, subhanAllah, that's where the tarbiyah comes in. She said it, and mashallah, she got, like, I think 5 kids, you know, and there's a 6th one on the way. And she said something really powerful. She said, you know, to God, to us, time is like something that we think is, you know, it's in our clock, but to God, it's like, it's not a limited thing. So he can actually expend time for you when you're doing something. Like, it's a metaphysical world thing that is happening, right? There's a barakah, like, let's say if Omar, like, you know, he's adamant about his schedule. Actually, God is going to put time and widen enough the world for him, that in the world of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he's going to accomplish more than maybe we think, like, oh, it's just an hour. But for him, that hour is probably like 3 hours worth of work he has got done. So Allah is in charge of, like, everything that we do, obviously, right? So time, but when you actually, like, in the community, the problem is not about funding. You can get great amount of money. People have, in a capitalistic society, a lot of, now the middle age income is like 100,000 now, or, you know, people that are calling the next middle age income right now, right? Or middle class income. Money is not the issue in our community. We can build buildings, masajids, ask people to give their time, and almost if, like, they don't have it. So I think we need to be very conscious about it, right? And it's not to say money is like a bad thing. Money has a purpose and power and meaning, but like, giving yourself your time is more valuable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than your wealth. That is the most you know, like, it's the most valuable thing. Prophet ﷺ, guys, he was the poorest of all. Like, he did not have, like, I mean, there are days his stomach, like, he tied stone around him to survive. He ran out of money. He couldn't solve the issues of homelessness before the prophecy came, right? Like, look at the stuff he left. Thank God. I mean, that's the way he lived his life. Otherwise, people were like, oh, look, a prophet had a house for 300,000. I need to have a house for 300,000, right? There's a reason, there's a hikmah behind why most of the prophets were very limited of this world, and they lived a life of giving time. What did the prophet do? He gave his time. He gave his knowledge. He gave his, mentorship.
Beautiful, man. Alhamdulillah, man. That's great. I love these conversations. I knew this was going to be a great conversation. And Muhammad said, Muhammad is such an inspiration. I'm so proud of you. Please continue to connect and support. A great job. We must find a good connection to better use the masjid / mosques as well. That was Muhammad. Yeah, for sure. Before we do close out the show, because we are almost at that point, I want to give a shout out to the second sponsor of today, which is BC Adhesives, located in Franklin, Wisconsin. You can go to BC Adhesives for all your industrial adhesives need. They do food packaging, book binding, product assembly, many other industrial services. If you are in need of adhesives for your business or having trouble with your current adhesives applications, you can contact them by phone 1-888-679-9825 or by website www.bcadhesives.com.
Love it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we need one of those. We got to upgrade next year, inshallah. But going into that quickly, we want to have a couple fun. I mean, I know my sisters, we've answered this twice now, so I ain't got to answer this. Maybe we just want to choose to answer this, Muhammad. Favorite thing to eat during the month of Ramadan, because it is the month of Ramadan. So what is your favorite thing to eat during the month of Ramadan?
So you guys know what jalebi is? Like that swirl sweet?
I've heard of it.
Sweet, right?
Yes, I've heard of that. Never tried it though.
Oh man, we got to get that going for you. So this Ramadan, like me and my wife were doing this thing called soup and salad only, like when we break our fast. And like, in the mornings, just like, eggs and cheese and whatever, very light stuff. And it's been transformative for me. Like I love it, right? So soup and salad has been our thing. That's it. And if I go out to eat, and I will eat stuff here and there. But man, that sweet, like Bengalis, I think we're extreme. If we go sweet, it's just like your teeth got to ache. And if we go spice, you're going to remember us for the next 30 days, right? Right? We have this extreme sense of like sweet or spicy, man. So yeah, that swirl thing is my favorite. Alhamdulillah.
All right, favorite thing to do during Ramadan.
So hold on, let me go back to this. So, like I got introduced to sabaya. Oh my God, bro. Like my life changed. Like when I came to Hanchang first time, I remember across the street, there was a Yemeni family. She was amazing. She's such a sweetheart, man. That lady, and like, I was telling my mom, you need to go out there and learn how to make it. You need to go. And when she saw the process, she's like, forget it. I'm not making this, right? The layers of butter, this, that. Like, I think like I just got me a sabaya. I'm glad now the sabaya can get a packet, right? I'm like, so I get excited, man. Like, so like I had, growing up in Hanchang, you get accumulated with the culture and whatnot, right? So yeah, like that sabaya is like my second favorite thing, like, alhamdulillah. So what was your question? I'm sorry.
I've been about to say something.
I was gonna say, doesn't your taste buds change throughout Ramadan? Because like now, like my first answer was sambusa in the beginning, and now it's like I don't care for sambusa anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't have anything that I'm craving now. Now nothing sounds good for iftar. It's weird.
True, and that's the purpose of fasting, right? Like you're able to actually really give your ruh that breathing moment, and you feel like you don't need anything from the dunya. Like khalas, like this is like you're content, you're happy. The less you take from food, from wealth, like the less you take, you feel lighter, you feel brighter, you feel like you have this synergy, right? So it's amazing. And Ramadan is a truly blessing for us, subhanAllah.
And I know you can agree, Ammar, like in the beginning of Ramadan, our sufra or spread is like a lot of things, right? Towards the end of Ramadan, it becomes like less and less and less and less. And then it's like, it's not about food anymore. And astaghfirullah, like, in the beginning of Ramadan, everybody's like, yeah, sambusa and, all this.
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't know why I keep naming sambusa, but you know what I mean.
You guys can deck out on your food. I remember like my friend invited me for a high school graduation, and I went to the house and we're sitting on the floor, and like he was throwing bread in the center, and then what do you call that thing? It's like gooey kind of like
aslid.
Yeah. See,
I can eat aslid anytime.
I was just shocked. All I see him is doing this, and like I'm supposed to like be in the same dish doing this with you.
Yeah, Aslid, it gets down when Aslid is on the table. It's definitely about to get serious.
Hey, Muhammad, Corona couldn't stop us from eating Aslid together. So
yeah,
Mashallah.
COVID cases are related to Asli dinners, by the way. I just want to let you guys know.
Probably.
All right.
Probably, yeah.
But in all seriousness, my wife just mentioned I'm craving shabapi. I do want to give a quick shout out to Juma in the Balkan house. So yesterday, our first time ever, we were invited to the Bosnian American Islamic Society Masjid in Hamtramck. And so, my first time ever going in there. And, mashallah, man, they hosted a beautiful iftar dinner. And it was sponsored by Juma in the Balkan house. And it was such a great time. Honestly, the vibes were great, man. We were, I know Ramadan is not all about food, man, but we left there, mashallah, alhamdulillah, we were left there full, good to go. But, my wife saying she was craving shabapi, and definitely that was one of the things that were on the menu. It was definitely delicious.
That's another topic that I kind of want to discuss as well, is that I don't like when you go into any other communities, you'll see masjids that are mixed, with different nationalities. I feel like in Hamtramck, our masajid are very, very, very
isolated,
separated. Even with the Yemenis, there's even our masajid alone, just from the Yemeni community alone, are separated, let alone the Bengali masjid and the Bosnian masjid and the
and I always, someday inshallah Omar could be the one who's starting a youth center that we all bring together, everyone, right? I think that could be amazing. I think that Hamtramck is an overdue time for it to have it's nonprofit. I think there's enough young professionals we can really collect that funding to get something going like that, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it, inshallah.
Inshallah. I would love to. Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, man. We have the hands and the will, the manpower, woman power, but it's just a matter of the organization of it and making it actually happen. And then Qamar said, "Asli, it ain't no joke. It definitely ain't. This is a strong topic. We need change for sure." Qamar, imagine how beautiful it is to walk into a masjid where you see the Bosnian, you see Iraqi, you see Yemeni, you see Bengali, you see Pakistani, everybody in one masjid. Man, I think that would give me chills, honestly.
I think it's very important for someone from each, a leader from each community to fill the council. You know what I'm saying? Where that can bridge the gap in that way.
Guys,
I feel
I'm telling you, it can happen. It's not. I think all of us. I think
we need to make dua today.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mohammed. Next question. Favorite thing to do during the month of Ramadan? What's your favorite thing to do?
Favorite thing to do, honestly, reflecting on the Quran. I think it's been really amazing. That morning Fajr, after I love it. It's quiet, not many people there. That's a good thing too. So you're not hearing everybody everybody's reciting loud. It's I just want quiet. But yeah, I think just reflecting on the Quran, I think that's my favorite. And it sounds weird, but not being able to eat and feel good about it, it's something weird and strange, right? It's I'm happy not eating. I don't want it. So, yeah.
And then my last thing is really the final word, Mohammed. Any final comments you want to make? I thought this was a great conversation. I can't wait to listen to it hopefully later, inshallah. But what's your final comment?
No, man, I think my final thoughts is I think you guys are doing, I've been, like I said, I've been wanting to connect with you since I get back. Just give yourself, go out there. There's so much we can do. When we say, a Muslim's supposed to be the, giver, a Muslim is supposed to be the one who brings light. And I'll end with this story, right? Or maybe this concept, if you were to light up a candle in a complete dark field, what's going to happen, guys? What are some things going to happen if I just take a candle?
You're going to bring light. You're going to bring light to that dark area.
Okay, but what else is going to happen once there's a light? What attracts the light?
People. Living things.
Living things, yes.
People. So you're gonna light up for people, right? If you guys seen the new Batman, you know how he was lighting up. So you light up people. You give the people the direction to go to a place, get warm. Same time, you also attract bugs. So you're going to be also challenged. You're also going to have bugs try to come take the light away from you. Another way to look at it is that when angels, right, there are thousands of angels, when they look down to dunya, they see complete darkness, bloodshed happening, crimes, trials, tribulations taking place. But in that dark world, there are lights. Those are the believers who are doing good work. And good work like Omar has done, in his basketball project, good work that Sarah and Abir, you guys do, right? These are the good lights of angels look at dunya and they see these are the believers doing godly work. Now, and when you look at the dark sky, you see, the stars from the heavens, that you guys, the dunya, you guys are the stars. So keep doing good in your community. Like, you don't have to have like, entire Quran memorized. You don't have to be a sheikh to like really add value to people's life. That's not the purpose. That's not the way to be transformative. Khalid bin Walid only had few verses memorized, and he was changing the world. There are accountants, there are, people add a different value. So be the value of in other people's life, and you're going to play the role of a mentor. So may Allah accept from all of you guys what you guys are doing. Bless you. I mean, your platforms, I think you guys are doing some amazing, tough conversations. And I see sometimes like, some people make comments, some people are joking about it, but those are the bugs in your light that you guys are spreading.
Amen. And give me, inshallah, thank you, Mohammed, for this. This was an awesome conversation. Qamar said it. Please come back on Oz Media 313. We'd love to have you on, inshallah, future reference. She even gave a shout out to Table Talk. She said, best family. Thank you, Qamar. We appreciate you.
100%.
We always enjoy her presence. We got to get Mohammed and Qamar. Imagine the conversation that we have Mohammed and Qamar on the table together with all of us. I think that would be like
it's a Cleveland conversation, man.
And even I was thinking also of our brother Mohammed with him as well, going back and forth. That would be really, really interesting.
You know what I would like to do? I think I would love to, brainstorm with you. I think you have the platform space. Let's have a community get together and have these kind of discussions and do a maybe event together to really get that momentum going. I think after COVID restriction has been, obviously it's much better now. So I think we can have a really community check-in, monthly dinner get together, young professionals come together and not just talk about this topic, but also come up with some active propositions and solutions. I think that'll be really awesome. And I think you guys are already on the field, I think bringing in the other synergy, and I'll tap into my Bengali resources and try to get those guys come through, right? I think there's a lot of value we can all come together and make and add to it.
For sure, man. I really do. I agree 100%.
They say if you want to see change, you have to be the change.
Absolutely.
So, start to us. And we appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge. I've learned a lot today. So, mashallah.
Thank you.
Yep. And before we end it, just want to say, Qamar said, Allahumma ameen. MashaAllah. Thanks for joining the podcast. And she laughed because we were talking about doing this. And then lovely Z said, Jazakallah khair for this beautiful topic. Let's make it happen. Qamar said, connection is important and diversity. Thank you, Mohammed, for being on the show. Again, this is episode 33 of the Table Talk podcast. Mohammed, please feel free. I'm going to message you my number. You could text me. We can talk more about some other stuff as well. And we definitely appreciate it. And again, thank you guys for watching. This was episode 33 of the Table Talk podcast, Unspoken Truths with Mohammed Kibriya. We will see you all next week, Monday, with the cousin Aisha from, by the way, Dallas, Texas. She will be, it will Zoom call, obviously. I know we were talking about Dallas, Texas earlier. And she, she's an influencer on Instagram and does her things too. So inshallah, that's how we will close out our Ramadan segment. We will talk about the last 10 nights of Ramadan / Eid, because that'll be our last show before Eid. So looking forward to that one next week, Monday, 6 o'clock. Thank you, Mohammed. Really appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely be talking soon. Hope you guys all enjoy the show. Have a good